chapters 22 through 25 of the book of Deuteronomy from the Holy Bible in Modern English. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mark Penfold. The Holy Bible in Modern English, translated by Ferrar Fenton. The book of Deuteronomy, chapters 22 through 25. Chapter 22.
You shall not see the ox or sheep of your neighbor straying and hide it from him. You shall drive them back to your neighbor. But if you cannot find your neighbor in your vicinity or do not know him, then you shall preserve them in your own premises. But if it occurs afterwards that your neighbor inquires for them from you, then return them to him. You shall also do the same with his ass, and the same to his clothing, and the same with everything lost by your neighbor, which he has lost and you have found. You shall not use them secretly. You shall not see the ass or ox of your neighbor that has fallen on the road, and hide yourself from them. Going to the spot, you shall lift them up for him. A woman shall not wear a man's dress, and a man shall not dress like a woman, for your ever-living God abhors all who do thus. When you find a bird's nest before you in the path, or on any tree, or chicks upon the earth, or eggs, and the mother sitting upon her chicks or upon her eggs, you shall not take the mother with her young. You must drive off the mother, but you may take her young for yourself, so that it may be well with you and you may extend your days. When you build a new house, you shall make a battlement on the circuit of the roof, so that you may not bring blood upon your house if anyone falls from it. You shall not double crop your farm. That would spoil the full development of the seed you sow and the produce of the farm. You shall not plow with an ox and an ass yoked together. You shall not weave silk, wool, and flax together. You may make tassels upon the four corners of the cushions that you sit upon. When a man takes a wife, and on going to her hates her, and puts insulting reports upon her, and brings a bad name upon her by saying, I married this woman, and when I approached her I found she was not a maiden. Then the father and mother of the girl shall take and bring the maiden with the proofs of her maidenhood to the magistrates of the village. And the father of the girl shall say to the magistrates, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, but he hates her, and now he sets up insulting reports, saying, I did not find your daughter a maid, but here is the proof of her chastity. Then they shall spread the garment before the magistrates of the town, and the magistrates of the town shall take that man and punish him, and fine him 100 silvers, and give them to the father of the girl, because he had brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel, but she shall be his wife. He shall not be able to divorce her for his life. But if that report is true, the proofs of the chastity of the girl not being found, then they shall take the girl to the outside of the house of her father and kill her, because she has acted disgracefully in Israel by prostitution in the house of her father. And thus you shall burn that evil from amongst you. When a man is found fornicating with a married woman, they shall die, both of them, the man who committed adultery with a woman, and the woman. Thus you shall burn that evil from Israel. When a young maiden who is engaged to a man meets a man in a town, and he fornicates with her, bring both of them to the gate of the town and stone them with stones and kill the girl, because she did not cry out in the town, and the man because he has degraded the wife of his neighbor. Thus you shall burn that evil from your breast. But if the man meets the betrothed girl in the fields, and the man overpowers her and ravishes her, then the man alone who has ravished her shall die, and you shall do nothing to the girl. The girl has committed no sin for death, for as a man rises against his neighbor and murders him, so is this crime. For he met her in the field, and the betrothed girl cried out, but none heard her. When a man meets a young maiden who is not engaged, and takes her and seduces her, when he is discovered, that man who corrupted her shall give to the father of the girl 50 silvers, and she shall be his wife afterwards. Because he degraded, he shall not be able to divorce her all his days.
Chapter 23.
A man shall not marry the wife of his father, and not lift up the skirts of his father. A eunuch and an emasculated man shall not enter a public meeting of the ever-living. The child of incest shall not enter a public meeting of the ever-living. They shall not enter into a public meeting of the ever-livings for 10 generations. An Ammonite and a Moabite shall not enter a public meeting of the ever-livings. They shall never enter into a public meeting of the ever-livings for 10 generations, because they did not supply you with bread and water upon the march when you came from among the Mitzrayim, and because they hired against you Balaam the son of Beor from the center of Aram of the rivers to curse you. But it did not please your ever-living to listen to Balaam, so your ever-living God turned the cursing into a blessing. For the ever-living your God loves you. You shall not seek their peace or benefit all your days forever. You shall not exclude an Edomite, for he is your brother. You shall not exclude a Mitzrayite, because you were a foreigner in his country. The children that they produce may be naturalized with the ever-living after 3 generations. When you go to war with your enemy, keep yourselves from any vile practice. If there happens to be with you a man unclean from any accident at night, let him go outside the camp, and not come into the middle of the camp, and at the approach of evening let him bathe in water, and at the decline of the sun he may enter the heart of the camp. You shall therefore provide a trench near your camp, where you can make a cesspool. You shall also have a spade with your weapons, so that when you turn yourselves to the cesspool and have evacuated, you can carefully cover up your excrement. For your ever-living God marches in company with your camp to protect it, and to defeat your enemies before you. Therefore your camps must be clean, that he may not see anything unsightly about you and turn away. You shall not deliver up a slave who has taken refuge with you from his master to his master. Let him reside amongst you in the place he chooses in one of your villages to benefit himself. You shall not drive him out. You shall not make a prostitute of a daughter of Israel. There shall not be a sodomite among the sons of Israel. You shall not bring the wages of a harlot, or the hire of a ruffian, to the house of your ever-living God for any vow, for your ever-living God loathes both of them. You shall not take interest from your brothers, interest upon money, interest upon food, interest upon anything which can be lent at interest. You may charge interest to foreigners, but from your countrymen you shall not take interest, so that your ever-living God may bless you in every endeavor of your hand in the country which you are going to possess. When you vow a vow to your ever-living God, you shall not delay to pay it, for the ever-living your God will demand it from you, and that would be a sin to you. But if you do not vow, it will be no sin. You must carefully perform the utterance of your lips. Whatever you vow to your ever-living God, you must give whatever you have promised with your mouth. When you go into your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat grapes to satisfy your wish, but you shall not put any into your basket. When you go through your neighbor's cornfields, you may pluck the ears with your hand, but you shall not cut from your neighbor's corn with a sickle.
Chapter 24.
When a man takes a wife and marries her, if she does not find favor in his eyes because there are found repulsive qualities in her, let him write her a letter of divorce and put it into her hand and send her from his house, so that she can go from his house and depart and be the wife of another. But if the other man hates her, then let him write her a letter of divorce and put it in her hand and send her from his house. Or if the second man dies who took her to him as a wife, she shall not be allowed to return to the first who divorced her, to be married as his wife after she has sinned, for that would be loathsome in the presence of the ever-living. Therefore you shall not defile the land which your ever-living God gives you to inherit. When a man has recently taken a wife, he shall not go out with the army, and no expedition shall be laid upon him for anything. He shall be freed for his home for 1 year, and enjoy the wife he has married. You shall not take in pledge a millstone or its carriage, for that would be to pledge a life. When a man is discovered stealing a person who is his brother of the sons of Israel, and has caused him to be bound and sold, that thief shall be put to death. Thus you shall burn that crime from amongst you. Regarding contagious diseases, take especial care to do all that I have instructed you. The priests and the Levites must take care to do according to the rules I commanded them. Remember what your ever-living God did to Miriam on the march out of Mizraim. When as a creditor you lend your neighbor anything, you shall not go into his house to advance upon the pledge. You shall stand outside, and the man to whom you lend shall bring to you the pledge at the outside. And although the man is poor, you shall not take his bed as the pledge. You shall return to him from his pledge at the decline of the sun both his bed and blanket, that he may bless you, and it will be righteousness to you in the presence of your ever-living God. You shall not oppress the poor and helpless of your brothers in their wages, nor the foreigner who is in your country or your villages. You shall pay them their wages daily when the sun shall set upon them, for they are poor and their life depends on them, so that they may not cry to the ever-living against you, for it would be a sin against you. You shall not kill parents on account of their children, nor children on account of their parents. A man shall only be put to death for his own crimes. You shall not refuse justice to the orphan of a foreigner, nor shall you distort it against the widow of a foreigner. But remember that you were slaves to the Mizrahites, but your ever-living God released you from that. Therefore I command you not to do these things. When you reap your harvest on your farm, and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, you shall not return to take it. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, so that your ever-living God may bless you in all the work of your hand. When you strip your olives, you shall not pick after yourself. That shall be done by the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. When you gather your vineyard, you shall not glean after yourself. That shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. For you must remember you were a slave in the land of the Mizraim. Therefore I command you to do these things.
Chapter 25.
When there is a dispute between men, and they appear before the judge, he shall examine between right, and wrong, and wrong. And when he has decided between the assailant and the assailed, he shall cause him to be punished in his own presence according to the extent of his crime. You may inflict 40 strokes, not more, for fear if you strike him beyond these many lashes, your brother should become degraded in your sight. You shall not muzzle a bullock when thrashing. When brothers reside together, and one of them dies, and does not leave a son, the wife of the dead man shall not be wife to a stranger. Her brother-in-law shall go to her himself, and marry his brother's wife, and the first son that she bears he shall bring up with his dead brother's name, so that his name may not be wiped out from Israel. But if the man refuses to marry his sister-in-law, then his sister-in-law shall go to the court of the judges, and say to them, My brother-in-law, who could raise up a name to his brother in Israel, is not willing to do his duty. The judge of the town shall then summon him, and examine him about it, when he shall appear and say, I am not willing to take her. Then the sister-in-law shall approach to him in the sight of the judges, and pull the shoe from his foot, and spit in his face, and insult him, and say, So let them do to the man who will not build up his brother's house. And he shall be nicknamed in Israel, the slipshod man. When men are fighting together, a man and his neighbor, and the wife of one approaches to help her husband by a stroke of her hand, and puts out her hand and seizes him by the genitals, her hand shall be cut off. Your eyes shall not spare her. There shall not be in your bag weight and weight, full weight and short weight. There shall not be in your house measure and measure, full measure and short measure. You shall have a just and right weight. You shall have a just and right measure, so that your time may be extended in the land which your ever-living God gives to you. For the ever-living your God abhors all who do those wicked things. Remember what Amalek did to you on your march as you came from the Mizraim, how he met you in the road and assailed your rear, all the sick who were following you, when you were weary and harassed you. And he did not regard the ambassadors. Therefore, when your ever-living God has given you peace from all your enemies around, in the country that your ever-living God has given you to divide into estates, wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the skies. Do not forget.
The end of chapters 22 through 25 of the book of Deuteronomy. Recording by Mark Penfold.